Welcome to the 85th video in our series about Unix tools. In this video, I'm going to continue showing you how to use Git for a simple one-person project. In this video, I'll show a few more optional one-time per project configuration tasks. But first, let's review what we did in the last video. In the previous video, we tuned our Git repository with the two commands shown. The first line changed our editor used for commit messages there we go to BVI. The second line disabled the colorization. You could use any editor on your system here. I also showed our third commit and discussed Git status. And asked you to notice that there was a short option that makes the status display more compact and, in my opinion, easier to read. So the status with short shows two columns of status information, and then a blank, and then a path to the file. The first column is for status of things that you have already done a git add, so they're staged. And the second column is for things that are in the working directory but you have not done a git add yet. This sounds confusing, but in this video I'll show more examples, and that should let you understand and see how it works. Okay, let's dive in. I'm going to save that change. Okay, quick review. Here we are. Let's do a git status, and we'll do a short. And if you do a git status short and nothing comes back, it just means that the working directory is clean. But if you like the long format, you can get it. Okay, I want the short format every time, and I don't want to have to keep typing ---- short. There's a git config for that. So I'm going to do a git config. Again, I'm going to use local because I only want to change it for this repository, not all the other ones that I might have somewhere. And so I'm going to say status short, and I'm going to set that to true. Now, if I do a git status, you notice it didn't show these two lines. Now, let's make some more realistic change. We've done changes where we kept changing comments just because I had to change something to make commits. But let's do something a little bit more interesting. So let's go into Taylor sign and take a look. And we're looking at this. Well, we already have a nice comment for this function. And you can see, wow, I initialized answer to angle, but I didn't initialize term, and I didn't initialize I set it here, down here. So I could set I equal 1 here, and then I can skip that initialization here. And then what about term? Can I do anything about term? Not really, because I have to compute term using denominator, and I have to compute denominator here. But you notice that I did a double denominator where denominator only exists inside the loop. And let's take a look at term and ask ourselves, is term used anywhere? Let me turn on line numbers. Is term used anywhere outside the loop? And it's not. So we could actually do a double term here, get rid of the term up here, and we've reduced the scope so that term has a narrower scope. It only exists inside this loop. So that's cool. What about positive? And we look at positive, and we look at this one, and we say, positive has to be set outside the loop to some initial value. So we can't do that. I has to be set outside the loop because it's the index to control the loop. And answer, well, answer gets used outside the loop when we return. It's computed inside the loop. But now you can see every variable that we declare on lines 14 through 16 and 19 through 20. Everything's initialized. And you can look at our style and say, wow, my style is inconsistent. You notice I have spaces around the assignment here and the increment and the assignment, but here I don't. Well, we should use a consistent style everywhere. Okay, we've made some significant changes. Let's do a make and test it. So we'll do a make minus F, and we'll choose our make file. And you can see it takes a minute, but here's test me passes. So we can do a make minus F, make file disk clean, and we'll now do a make file 2 for the shared library version. Should work the same, but you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. So test it. And if we run test me, remember that's not going to work. We need to use our run it target so that it sets the LD library path. Yes, you can set it by hand if you want to, but that's more work. So the last step before we do any sort of adding is to clean things up. Let's do a get status now, and you can see, yes, it used the short format, even though I didn't say short, because I did that get config. And let's take a look at how to decode it. That's the file we're talking about. The M is in the second column. The second column means that it's modified in the working directory copy, but it's not added to the staged changes yet. So we need to do a get add on Taylor sign, and then when we do a get status, you'll see the M has moved to the first column, so it's in the set of staged changes. Difficult to say. Okay, we can do a get diff, and remember to see those changes, the stage changes, we have to say cached. And yes, here are the changes, and we stare at this a moment and we say, how can I describe this for the git commit? This is going to take more than one line of message. What we've done is we have narrowed the scope of term because it's only needed inside the loop. So that's one thing we did. And the other thing we did was we moved the initialization of I to its declaration. Okay, and finally, the last thing is we used a consistent style for our assignment statements. Okay, we know what we want to say now, so we can do a git commit, and we get this display, and it tells me Taylor sign was modified, but it doesn't really tell me anything about what was modified. I have to remember that. So, okay, and remember, it's really the T sign function, not Taylor sign. And if you're not sure, you know, you can take a look and say, yes, it's T sign. So, clean up. Oh, how did I do that? I did a colon shell. Okay, and that pops you into the shell long enough, and then you can exit the shell and come back to the editor. Clean up T sign, and then we'll give a blank line because we want to separate this. This will be the title line for the short log, and then we'll have the longer log. 1. Use consistent spacing for assignment statements. 2. Narrow scope of term to loop body. 3. Initialize loop index during its declaration. Okay, those are the 3 changes we made that we wanted to commit. So we save those. It says 1 file change, 6 insertions, 6 deletions, because we modified the lines in place. Now, if we do a git log, you can see that nice message right there with all the information. And if we do a git shortlog, you see it just uses the 1 line, cleanup T sign. And it groups those all under the person who made the commits, which happens to be only 1 person in this project. And so once they do that, they do them in order. And so this turns out quite nicely. Initial version, add better file level comment, authorship and license info. We didn't say what file though. Oops. Add comment describing purpose of makefile 2, clean up T sign. So we've become more familiar with the Git system. We tuned our status to use the short format every time by default. If you really want the long format, you can still ask for it and you can get the long format. But it used to be we had to ask for the short format and we got the long. Now we get the short format and we have to ask for the long, because I rarely ever use that. Okay, we're out of time on this video. I hope that you're learning a lot and that you come back next time where we'll learn some more. Until then, thank you for listening.